Are you imagining things, or are his lies very real? Are you worried you're being gaslit? In this video, I'm going to cover the phrases and behaviors that means he's gaslighting you. Plus, I'll tell you how to call it out and make it stop for good. Hi, I'm Lucy Goldman, a relationship coach and commitment expert from LoveLearnings. We uncover the science behind love and relationships in a way that makes it easy to get your head around. Subscribe right now for a new video every week. First off, I just want to say for the record that gaslighting is not something that should be taken lightly. It's very common these days to overuse phrases like toxic, abuse, and gaslighting. That's not to say that mistreatment is ever okay, just that there are often shades of gray. On the flip side, it's possible that your boyfriend can be a good person who treats you right most of the time and still be a gaslighter who you should get away from as soon as possible. Let's start by defining this term. Gaslighting is a conscious or unconscious form of psychological abuse that occurs when a perpetrator distorts information to confuse a victim, causing the victim to doubt their memory and sanity. Basically, gaslighting is lying with a goal. The gaslighter is trying to gain power over you, prevent you from leaving, and isolate you from your friends and your family. The term comes from that 1938 stage play, Gaslight. In the story, a husband attempts to convince his wife that she is insane by manipulating small elements of their environment, like slowly dimming the gas lamps in their home, and insists that she is delusional when she points out these changes. His eventual goal is to have her declared insane and committed to a mental hospital. This term has been used to apply to everything from politics to climate change to pandemic response. It was even named one of the most popular words of 2018 by Oxford Dictionary. Gaslighting is especially effective on people with mental illness, as they are predisposed to not believe their own conceptions of the world, and so are more able to be persuaded that they're just imagining things. If you're someone who tends to get confused easily and are prone to misunderstandings, it's common that you'd get pretty deep into a relationship with a gaslighter without noticing anything was wrong. There's even some evidence to suggest that gaslighters will seek out people just like you so that their manipulations will go unnoticed. Gaslighters are often narcissists who are unwilling or unable to take into account other people's version of reality. Chances are they're not even aware they're doing it. This is often a behavior that we learn in childhood from abusive parents. It's easy to write this off as some sort of misunderstanding or the desire to win every argument. True gaslighting is persistent and effective at making you doubt your own sanity and your own value. Here's a little story to demonstrate gaslighting in action. I know a couple, we'll call them Ashley and Kyle. Kyle is always making little jokes about Ashley, and sometimes they cross the line into just plain cruel. For example, when Ashley complains about having trouble finding work in her field, Ashley's an actress, Kyle will say something like, "You ever think that you're just no good at acting?" Something to think about. This hurts Ashley's feelings because she has trained for years in acting and has a couple of major roles in local theater. Whenever she shares her frustrations about failed auditions, Kyle will say things like, "I'm not sure why you're wasting your time with that anyway. You're kidding yourself if you're gonna be some movie star." Ashley is hurt by this, but she always just brushed it off as Kyle being more practical and level-headed than she was. Then, one day, Kyle crossed the line. After she landed her dream role on a TV show, she came to Kyle with the good news. Instead of being pleased, he just said, "Don't be surprised if it falls through. You're way too old for that role anyway." This is when Ashley had enough. She confronted him, asking him why he's always been so dismissive of her acting. This is when the real gaslighting started. Kyle said she was just imagining things. He had always supported her acting, but he had to be honest. He said he was actually way more supportive than most people would be in his situation, and that she should actually be grateful to him. This was when Ashley knew something very wrong was happening. You see how gaslighters can manipulate the truth and make you doubt your own version of reality? Luckily, Ashley spotted Cal for what he was and got out of there before long. If he had succeeded in convincing her that she was just ungrateful, he could have gained leverage over her to manipulate her even more. So let's talk about the specific behaviors that Cal was doing to gaslight Ashley. Number 1, he was just kidding. A gaslighter will often blur the line between jokes and the truth, so it's difficult to call them out on their behavior. If they cross a line and upset you, then they'll say they were just joking and you shouldn't be so sensitive. Humor is their way of pushing the boundaries and seeing what they can get away with. Number 2, he kept her off balance. When you come to someone you care for with a problem, their role is to offer you support. The gaslighter will offer kind words and empathy on one hand, but with the other, they'll use your vulnerability to break down and hurt your self-image. This hot and cold treatment can be extremely disorienting. So when Ashley complained about her negative acting experiences, Cal would basically say, "I'm so sorry, that sounds awful. Maybe you're just a terrible actor." Number 3, he accused her of imagining things. The problem here is that perception is not always clear-cut. Often people do misunderstand things. Memory is unreliable at best. What a gaslighter will do is they'll prey on this ambiguity. He will use your uncertainty to his advantage as he pushes a completely confident view of the world that supports his lies. If a gaslighter has their way, you won't know what's true and what's not, so you'll have to rely on them even more. Number 4, I'm just being honest. Manipulation is often disguised as honesty. One form of gaslighting is the combination of certain true statements in a way that you draw the conclusion that they want, even though the statements actually have nothing to do with one another. For example, you're gaining weight and men always leave you. Or you're bad with money, so you're in no position to question my sudden overspending and erratic behavior. So maybe you've noticed some gaslighting behavior, but you're not just sure if he crosses the line. Here's another way to tell. Gaslighting most often happens in response to emotional complaints and accurate criticism. So basically, you can really see it coming out when you try to call them out on their bullshit. Notice how he reacts when you take issue with something. Does he double down even harder? Does he accuse you of lying or making things up? These are gaslighting tactics. So what's next? You have the difficult decision of whether to leave this guy or not. In my experience, I generally recommend getting away from men like this. This kind of manipulation is not normal. It not only makes you doubt your own sanity, but it does damage to your self-image and your conception of reality. Get out while you still can. Whatever you decide, you need to do these 5 things going forward to identify and protect yourself from gaslighters. Number 1, stop apologizing. If you go to your partner with problems and you always end up being the one apologizing, you need to stop. Gaslighters will often exaggerate your mistakes and minimize their own. This means that you'll end up apologizing for being upset at their behavior. This is a slippery slope. 2, trust your instincts. When you're dealing with gaslighting, your instincts are all you have. The gaslighter is asking you to ignore those instincts and put stock in only what he tells you. Don't ignore your gut, and don't let this guy discount your lived experience. 3, seek outside help. If you can't seem to see eye to eye on something, it can often be helpful to get another opinion. The gaslighter wants to avoid this at all costs. It's his goal to handle all problems in-house. He's mortified of the idea of getting a second opinion because he knows that all of his lies will come out. 4, keep records. Writing a diary or keeping records of emails, text messages, or other correspondence can be hugely helpful for your mental well-being. It will create concrete evidence of his lies and gaslighting. Whether or not he'll ever accept this evidence if you present it to him is up for debate. Denial is powerful for gaslighters, but just having it for your own peace of mind will help a lot. 5. Set boundaries. Accept that you won't ever agree on certain things and refuse to discuss them. This is a very helpful tactic when dealing with narcissistic family members. If they keep wanting to have the same fight over and over, trying to change your mind, you can simply refuse to have conversations like this with them. Let them know that you won't be talking about this specific subject and don't back down. If you're dealing with gaslighting from a guy, a family member, or a boss, I really hope this video helped. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave your story in the comments below. I'd love to hear them. Thanks for watching.